Okay, so before I begin, let's talk about something that was made aware to me thanks to a couple of Chibits on Twitter and some on YouTube. Apparently, the drug that was used in this chapter of Boku no Hero Academia, the drug that caused the villain, the boy that was running away from Kirishima, apparently that drug was in the spin-off of Boku no Hero Academia. And I personally have not read that spin-off. I'm just going to be straight up with all of you. I have not read the spin-off. However, many told me today that apparently that drug is in the spin-off. So, there definitely is a connection between the spin-off and the main series. So, I probably need to invest some time into actually reading the Boku no Hero Academia spin-off because of this chapter. I didn't think I would have to, but clearly I do because of the reveals of this chapter. But anyways, with that being said though, can we just talk about the villain for a second and his reaction to Kirishima, but also Kirishima's character development he received in this chapter? It was splendid. It was completely splendid and fascinating to see some of the ways this chapter was written. So I want to dive headfirst into the villain. So, the villain that shot Sun Eater in last week's chapter, which now caused it to where he can't use his quirk ability. We don't know if it's a permanent loss of his quirk, or if it's, gonna be temporary, where it's like maybe a day or two. We have really no idea at this time. However, though, the dude, after firing, he realized, like, wait, this gun doesn't work or whatever, and he runs away. And as he's running, he's pretty much ranting and screaming, saying, like, why? Why is this happening? Like, I'm weak or whatever. Do you know how it feels to have my quirk ability only be able to pop out daggers that's, like, only 10 centimeters? It fucking sucks. And he's just pretty much going on a rant and, crying and being very upset, saying he's weak. And he's talking to Kirishima like, oh, I don't want to hear that from you, a person that was able to become a hero, and I right now am someone I can't do anything, can't even become a hero. I like the aspect of that, and it really, once again, goes along with what Horikoshi has done in the past many times over. He loves to show both sides of the story. He doesn't like just showing it from the perspective of the hero, letting us see through the hero's eyes of what is going on. He loves showing how the villains feel as well, what led them to have their lives like they are. I mean, let's think about all the other characters we have seen throughout the series, like certain villains that have been forced to be like they are, because of the way their quirk is, like the actual handicaps of that quirk ability. And when you see stuff like this, once again, it goes along with a reoccurring theme that's popped up over and over again throughout Boku no Hero Academia. Sometimes you cannot stop yourself from becoming a villain, because that's just how life was, how it handed it to you. I mean, you were just born with a very shitty quirk, or you couldn't do certain things because of the way your quirk handicaps you, and it forced you in a position to where eventually you became something you didn't think you would be, or you became a villain, which is most likely what happened, to Shigaraki. We know how he was manipulated thanks to, All for One, and because of all of this, once again, this character that's very minor, not anything that's relatively special, he actually was given some characterization, allowed us to see why he is doing some of these things, but also we get to see it from the perspective of Kirishima and how he's trying to overcome a lot of his faults as well. And this exact same theme could also be applied to other characters on the hero side as well. I mean, this also applies to Izuku, because Izuku, as we know, he started off with no quirk. He was someone that was quirkless and didn't have anything really going for him, and the only thing that really kept him moving forward was that he believed he could eventually become a hero. And so because of all of this, a lot of characters could have turned out to go to the bad side because of their upbringing or because of the way they were born in the first place. But anyways, let's focus on Kirishima's characterization / development. I really like seeing Kirishima's doubt in this chapter. Him doubting himself, him doubting how strong he is, and just straight up talking to everyone around him. That's something that really impressed me with this chapter, and I feel like many need to acknowledge that aspect of the chapter. I know many are going to be talking about the drug that was introduced in Boku no Hero Academia, many are going to be talking about Sun Eater and how he can't use his quirk ability, and many are going to be talking about, Red Riot Unbreakable. I know that's the main points of discussion of the chapter, but I feel like many are probably going to overlook one of the best moments of the chapter besides the final pages, and that is Kirishima actually showing that he doubts himself. That is impressive, because normally when you see a shonen series, or read a shonen series, and you have a group of characters that are growing stronger or maturing as people alongside of the main character, there tends to be a gap that forms. There's always a gap that forms in these type of series. It happens in a lot of shonen and even seinen. It happens. And usually the characters are constantly, you know, saying like, oh, you know, I'm going to get strong. I'm going to continue going, getting stronger. I'm going to be able to keep up. But there obviously is a gap there, but they never acknowledge it. They never acknowledge that there is a big gap, and there's no way they can keep up. There's no possibility. But even if they become aware of this, they never go out of their way to discuss this with their fellow peers. They don't go to talk to, you know, the people they feel like they're inferior to. That normally never happens in these type of series. And Kirishima actually was discussing how he felt about himself and his quirk ability to everyone around him, which showed how close he was to them, their bonds, the bromance there. But on top of that, how he's willing to grow, and it feels organic. It's organic growth. It's not forced growth to where he's like, oh, I'm gonna get stronger and shit. I will continue to man up and continuously get power-ups, even though I didn't show any, like, slow development beforehand or whatever. And that little added section of doubt to his character actually allowed it to where I could accept the actual power-up he received in this chapter. I love that resolve he had. That is something I wish more shonen was able to do better. I mean, that is just impressive, because not a lot of shonen could do that little cliche as good as what I saw in this chapter. And just well done, Horikoshi, for such a splendid, magnificent approach to that cliche when it comes to Kirishima's character. I really enjoyed that. Now, besides all of that being said, Red Riot, Unbreakable, whoa. That man's straight up Havel. Like, that man is Havel. Like, if you've played Dark Souls, you know what I'm talking about. But that man's straight up Havel. Like, he got that poise for days. He got that poise and that hyper armor. I mean, that man cannot be touched now. That man is freaking insane. That dude couldn't even touch him. It's just, he's like, I need to grow harder, hardening, and all that. And I know there's going to be a lot of puns there, and sexual jokes, and innuendos, and all that stuff. But still, just like, the man was able to allow his hardening to get even better. He was able to get hard a lot better, which, oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. But anyways, though, Kirishima, he has grown, and he has shown that he is a lot stronger now. And even though his quirk is very basic, it's something that doesn't seem to be relatively anything pizzazzy, like, oh my god, it still has some really good aspects about it that could be very cool. And that's something that Horikoshi does best. He really dives into a lot of abilities with characters and gives them weaknesses but also strengths. I mean, even some of the strongest abilities in the series, there's a very crucial weakness to, or a handicap, and I love, once again, how Kirishima's, you know, quirk ability was dived into, but also how he was able to actually use it even more than he once was, how he was able to grow even harder than he was. Oh my god, I need to stop saying that, that's, oh my god. But, yeah. The chapter, though, it really impressed me. I was really impressed with the design of the way this chapter was done, like the direction the story is going, to the characters are going. It was just one of those chapters to where, once again, you know that Horikoshi is good at writing characters and writing his series, because it's not always just the main character that needs development / characterization. We also need support characters that get developed. If you're gonna have a cast, you need to develop them as well. And a lot of mangaka, you know, actually tend to forget about this. They make a lot of characters, cool designs, but they don't dive into these characters. They don't give them good characterization or development, and I just love how Horikoshi does that. He dives into these characters, gives them their own chapters to develop them. And, I mean, think about it right now, okay? Izuku is going through his own arc right now. We know about Izuku. He's going through something too, but Horikoshi's not focusing on that. Normal shonen would focus just on Izuku, but that's not the case. We are focusing on Kirishima, a support / side character, and he is getting this really good development. Just well fucking done. Love it. So yeah, chapter. Great chapter. I'm satisfied with it, what I got, and I just can't wait for the next chapter. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.